I'd like to follow up on Kali's question
Oh,
about the
you're a
Rambam,
troublemaker. It's like you've been already labeled a disturber of the peace.
especially with today's atmosphere. Rambam, I was looking up a quote from him that he does mention the etrog when you have an etrog and how it should be, what color it should be. And it says in places where the etroim grow naturally with a slight black tinge, it is kosher. However, if the etrogim are very black, like a Cushite, they are unacceptable everywhere. and
All right.
and I know we shouldn't go back and try to look at with our values people back then, but Rambam seems to be going with the notion that you have a Cushite. He's a son of Ham, and Ham has this curse. It seems like that's what he has in his theology.
He doesn't mention that. He doesn't mention them being cursed.
Well, that's where the Cushites come from. I don't think Negroes are cursed, but
Negroes. Come
I'm sorry,
on.
I'm a
No,
child
you're
of.
making this
I,
conversation too.
I'm a child. Well, that's what he. Or he calls them black.
I don't think that was derogatory. There's another instance.
Like a Cushite, they are unacceptable everywhere.
They're talking
And why?
about an etrog.
Like
hold on.
he has a simile, like a Cushite.
No. The color, correct?
He says Cushite.
Right.
If
But the
if
color of
the
a Cushite. If an etrog is not yellow, and I'm sure he was just trying to describe their complexion, not that they're inferior in any way. There's another instance that appears in the Talmud, the Rambam quotes it, of a priest who's disqualified from being a priest. People who try to say that Talmud is racist quote this out of context. They'll say that if his skin is too dark, like too abnormally black, he's disqualified. But in the same sentence, it says, and if his skin is abnormally white, he's also disqualified. It's because Kohanim were supposed to represent the people at large. Not that they couldn't have been black, but they couldn't have been too black and they couldn't have been too white. They had to look approachable.
right, and that is that topic. This topic is when you use the simile, you have an etrog that's black, like a Cushite, they are unacceptable.
Right. The color.
And why are they unacceptable?
Because they can't be black.
Why are they?
I don't understand how is that racist?
No, a simile is telling you logically that one is like the other. So the color black in the etrog is not acceptable. A Cushite, unacceptable.
Okay. I don't see how that's racist.
No, I'm trying to wonder. My wonder is there is this notion that some people have that the Jews come from Noah has three sons. Shem produces the Semitics, and Ham produces the supposed cursed generation, which Cushites come out of. So he's saying, perhaps, he has the same theology.
No, he doesn't have. He never said that we can't convert blacks. He never said anything derogatory about people having black skin alone anywhere. Trust me, it would have been mentioned somewhere online because people are always looking for these red herrings to make Jews look backward and primitive. And I'm not saying that many rabbis of old weren't backward and primitive, but the Rambam, the most he said is a statement that Kali said of Ethiopians and Turks being almost intellectually irredeemable culturally, because Turks, again, are white. As a matter of fact, the picture that people parade around of the Rambam, people say is not the Rambam, but a Turkish merchant, showing you that Turks weren't black. There were people of color, but they weren't Ethiopian or Sudanese.
Yeah, I'm just trying to flush it out so that I don't, so I can also defend the person who wrote about our faith, but I don't. If somebody comes to me and says, look, he's a racist.
Yeah, I'm not really defending him. I just don't see where it's racist.
Do you think he has that same kind of notion that you said that Judaism is based on blood?
No.
Do you think the Rambam has this idea?
No, I don't believe in it.
Why does
I don't believe he does.
Like a Cushite.
If he would have said if it's white like an albino, does that mean that he's anti-albino?
If he uses that simile and he says, if we have an etrog that's supposed to be white, let's say it's not supposed to be yellow anymore, and black is not the blemish. Let's say if it if the unacceptable part of an etrog was white, had some kind of white fungus on it, like okay, I'm Ukrainian. Like a Ukrainian, they're not acceptable anywhere. It's the same thing.
All right, so we'll change the subject because we're not. I think it's a non sequitur regarding race. If it's trying to describe something that makes it not kosher, the etrog, we're talking about a fruit here with spots on it. If it has a certain color, then it's not kosher. And
right, and then they should have stopped. Should have said, with a slight black tinge, it is kosher. However, very black, not kosher. Period. End of sentence.
But that's not the way you describe things when you don't have a book with pictures in it. People have to say how black. Oh, well, like the color of an Ethiopian. In the non-woke world of the Rambam, I'm sure it wasn't like deemed racist.
Period. Now he goes on and says unacceptable.
I don't see it. And I'm not technically white either. My ethnicity doesn't allow me to answer this question.
I'm trying to learn. I'm trying to flush it out. And it's an important question.
A troublemaker. I don't think it's important. No, it's just because
in our day and age, yes, it is important.
It's important if someone's trying to make like rabbis look backward, primitive, and racist. Now, I'm not saying the Rambam wasn't racist, but I just don't see enough in its text to point to that. We see King Solomon, he was married to black women. He says positive things about how beautiful they are. The notion of Zipporah being black is understood. I don't know if it's completely clear in the Torah that this is why Miriam was making fun of her, but it shows that this is not something we're supposed to do. But anyways, I don't think the Rambam was a racist.
Rabbi, I have an easy question.
All right.
What, on a day-to-day basis, what should we study? When people say study, you need to study. What do we, in a nutshell, what should we have on our bookshelf that we study?
Most people who say that they study Torah do not study Torah. Torah is just that, the 5 books of Moses. That's what Torah is. Tanakh is not Torah. Nach is not Torah. The first T in Tanakh, right, is Torah, the 5 books of Moses, and what Torah endorses, which is halakha. That's it. The Torah tells us in Deuteronomy chapter 17 to heed the instructions of this court. This court, we believe in faith, are the same men who appear in the Mishnah, who codified laws passed down from court to court. Laws were added, laws were taken away, but that is what we consider halakha. What's the easiest way to do that? The easiest way to do that is to buy the Mishnah Torah of the Rambam or download it for free. It's all in English on Chabad.org. Why is that the easiest way? Because the Rambam went through all rabbinic literature, source material, and he extracted halakha from the fluff, from folklore and legend and all the crazy mysticism. He extracted the plain law and he put it in 14 volumes, and he called this Mishneh Torah. He writes in his introduction to Mishneh Torah that now that you have this, you don't even have to study the Talmud anymore. All you need is the 5 books of Moses and this. So that's where I would guide you towards. If you would master Mishneh Torah and the 5 books of Moses, you would know more than 99% of all the rabbis alive today. I believe that with all my heart. That's all you really need. Now, once you surpass that, once your Hebrew gets a little better, go into the Talmud, go into the Mishnah, see the nuts and bolts on how halakha was put together. That's really top shelf Judaism. But most people aren't even there yet. But there's so much to learn, and we just have such little time left on earth to get it all done that you can't waste your time studying things that are not source material.
Are there different kinds of Mishnah, or?
So there's a difference between the Mishnah and Mishneh Torah. Okay. All right, Mishnah versus Mishneh. So Mishneh Torah and Mishnah are 2 different things. The Mishnah is what was compiled by Rabbi Yehuda Hanassi. Like, he took all the notes that the students of the sages gathered throughout history, and he compiled the oral law in written form because supposedly it was only passed down orally, and writing it down was in some way prohibited. So that is what was called the Mishnah. The commentary to the Mishnah is called the Gemara. When they're sold together in a book, that's what's called the Talmud. Now, the Rambam was born in 1135 to 1205 of the Common Era. So what he did, he went through all the laws in the Mishnah, in the Talmud, in the what we call Midrashei Halacha, the Sifri, the Sifra, the Mechilta, the Toseftot, the Braitot. He took all those laws and he put them in a book called Mishnah Torah. And then after that, there's other codifications that tried to do the same thing. No one's been able to. Things like Shulchan Aruch are not a complete codification of Jewish law. That's really what's called a compilation of Jewish law, because he took the Rambam, he took the Rif, he took the Rosh, and he took the best out of the three, and he put it in his little abridged version of his earlier work, which is called Beit Yosef, but only the Rambam codified all of Jewish law. Most people go by what's called Shulchan Aruch nowadays. I guess most people really go by Mishnah Berurah, but that only deals with what we do today. It doesn't deal with like temple sacrifices. It doesn't deal with notions like Mashiach. The Rambam really did it all. So everything is online for free. If you go to Chabad.org, they even have a study plan that if you study one chapter of the Rambam a day, you'll be done in 3 years. And if you study 3 chapters a day, you'll be done in 1 year. That alongside, there's another book also put together by the Rambam called Sefer HaMitzvot, the Book of Commandments. He goes through every one of the commandments, or I guess the bulk of them, found in Torah, and he explains them from a rabbinical perspective. So that's also very important too. Actually, what Sefer Mitzvot was actually part of Mishnah Torah, and it was split into 2 works just to make more money. But to start off, Mishnah Torah and 5 books of Moses. Memorize the Torah. The prophets, the writings, all that is really there to give you a historical account of the life and times of those prophets and how the Jewish people acted and how God reacted throughout history. That's it. They're not there for you to build doctrine on, and that's what most people do. And most people, especially let's say Christians, if you ask them what they believe, they're typically going to justify what they believe from the hyperbole, the poetry, the symbolism that appears in the prophets, and not the words that appear in the Torah. So the Torah, the 5 books of Moses, and Mishnah Torah, and then you're good to go.
Okay, thank you. That's very good.
No problem.